Yes, your wife's boyfriend may have bought you the outdated Godzilla Evolved. Whatever, it's a fine figure. Dragon Ball, horror, kaiju, and more. Steven's Toy Reviews. Hello there, collectors. It's Steven here, and welcome to another Hiya Toys Godzilla review, where today we're going to be taking a look at the Hiya Toys exclusive basic Godzilla Evolved from Godzilla Kong the New Empire. Okay, I thought I could do it one breath, but apparently not. So if you did happen to miss the news, this is already outdated. Hiya Toys has announced they're doing a Heat Ray version, which they explicitly stated that they are updating things for the new Heat Ray version, and they are including a normal head sculpt, which does not have the normal flare for a Heat Ray head, which is going to include the whole lit up eyes and the burst effect in the mouth. Nope, it's pretty much just going to have the normal paint scheme that one would expect for a Godzilla head, with just some pinkish coloration for the pupils. That's it. And everything else looks to be what you would expect from a normal evolved Godzilla. Actually looks quite similar to the SH Monster Arts. Yeah, it's basically a 2.0, and this is the 1.0, and the 2.0 was announced right after everyone got theirs in hands, the early adopters. This is new, this is unprecedented. So should you buy the beta test? Nay, I would say this is the alpha test. No, I'm going to say. But if you already have yours in transit, or you're really thinking about whether or not you should get this, or you want to see how it is in a vacuum, not compared to anything else, well, let's take a look to see whether or not it's going to be worth adding to your collection or keeping your order, because if they reissue this figure, they're just going to repaint the 2.0 with the updates. Yeah. So absolutely, we can talk about what works for Evolved here and what doesn't. To get the negatives out of the way real quick, we are going to see that the teeth, well, they're pretty much all one color, and they're sort of painted as a strip. There's no gums that are defined here whatsoever, so the teeth, he kind of looks like he's wearing dentures. When it comes to the dorsal plates as well, as I noted in my unboxing, they kind of look like chewed up bubble gum. There's not really a whole lot of definition to be found here. There are some sculpted lines, but maybe you can argue there's some darker pink closer to the base of the plates that changes into a lighter pink, but honestly, it's not really well executed here. There's no transitioning. There's just a hard transition from pink to the gray of the figure. It's just a hard stop. It's like, here's the clean line. We're going from one color to another. Those are going to be the two biggest issues for Godzilla Evolved in the looks department. Otherwise, I would argue the figure is rather nice looking. For the eyes, yep, I'm going to talk about him. If you've seen by the pictures, he's looking straight ahead. So whenever we're talking about small eyes and not being possible, yep, they are, so kudos there. Now, on the teeth, however, we do actually have a nice separation of the teeth, so we can make them out individually instead of just some sort of goopy, gloppy mess, which is good to see. For the pink as well, however, on the main body, it's actually used as a bit of a wash in some places, which I was surprised to see, and though it may or may not be accurate, that is a nice detail. You can mostly see this on the top portion of the torso, and yeah, it's pretty cool. I don't know if that's a factory error, but seeing it on the underside of his scales, his scutes, or whatever you want to call them, I found that to be rather cool. We do have a light brown, almost a mud color for a dry brush on the underside of his body, under his belly and his chest, if you will, his armor plating. And that is a rather nice touch, because that has a good transition, which you would expect would be found on the dorsal plates, that similar effect, but it is not. The claws and the nails, whatever you would call them, they don't have any paint application whatsoever, and it's very odd that we would have what could very well be the same color used for the nails that's found on the dry brushing, but that's not found on this figure. I just find that to be rather odd, but we do have dry brushing on the tail segments going all the way to the tip for Godzilla's skin tone. So overall, Godzilla Evolved does have quite a few things in terms of the paint application that kind of make you scratch your head there, because that would really enhance the look. But when it comes to the overall core of the figure, I don't think that this looks too bad. But the things that it does miss, they are rather notable. So yes, your wife's boyfriend may have bought you the outdated Godzilla Evolved. However, The issue is it still actually moves pretty nicely. Some things are still outdated from the jump, but I digress. Let's go ahead and talk. So the jaw is going to be on a hinge, and it opens and it closes. Ooh, super sophisticated. Now, the way that it works is that there is going to be a pin that runs through the mouth there, and that is what the tongue is on. So the tongue moves up and down. There you go. Despite Hiya previously working with multi-ball joint systems, this is something that's been used way in the past for Hiya and their neck joints. Not sure why they're using it here. This single, well, it's a double axis or barbell style system does not lend itself well to the range of movement that maybe folks would be expecting for Godzilla Evolved. I know personally not me, but you know, it makes Godzilla look up about that far, look down about that far, left and right. He can twist and turn his head, spin it around. Now, Hiya has already noted that they're going to be upgrading this with the Heat Ray version, and they're going to include the double joints. So, yeah. Okay. Shoulders, ball joint. They move around, spin. Nice movement there. T-pose. He can do that pretty much. You will have to flub some poses when you want Godzilla's arms to move by like spinning them back like that to get his arms to move, which thankfully we do have bicep swivels. So that is something that is a benefit, which we do have bicep swivels, like I said. And they do kind of rock, but I don't know for sure what we're going to get aside from just a swivel movement. But we do have a hinge. And then we do have another hinge at the forearm for the elbow. And just like that, we have a better range of movement there than what Scar King can do. Isn't that nice? Yes, the Monster Arts Scar King is going to continue to catch strays, regardless of whether or not it's going to be a Bandai-related video. The hands are going to be on ball joints. The wrists there. There we go. Now, we do get, as noted, fist. Somewhat open, cuffed, splayed hand. Not really. He can hold weapons if you want. There's a gap there. So it's beyond just a fist, which is pretty nice, and it's the same range of movement. Thankfully, there isn't like a huge overhang there that blocks the range of movement, so Godzilla's going to have some nice movement there. Torso, the ab crunch, is on a ball joint. However, mine is, I think, stuck. You can almost see it wanting to snap back in place. So I think what may need to be done is a full heat and disassembly here to see what's happening, because I'm afraid that I may be twisting plastic and I may be snapping it here, which is not a good thing. This middle dorsal plate is like on a ball joint and it just turns, which is weird that they would put something like this here. I guess it's to help move the torso when it moves out of the way, get some dorsal plate clearance. But yeah, it's there. We do have ball jointed hips. We can move Godzilla around, which is good. Splay out that far, kick about that far forward and back, which is nice to see. I mean, we don't have any restricted range of movement, any direction pretty much, i.e. SH Monster Arts release. We do have double hinge knees, which is good, which we do have some swivels there, so we can sort of fake a little bit extra movement. We do have ball jointed ankles, so we have some ankle rocker movement and move the foot forward and back. And then the tail is pretty much ball jointed all the way through, which is much better than some of the other releases that we have had. We can get Godzilla to pretty much curl the tail all the way around. And that's pretty much the point where the tail will pop off. So we do have eventually hitting a limit. No, that's not breaking it. That's just disassembling the joint. And it is easy to pop back on. I'm probably sure I can do this without heat. Ah, there we go. There we go. All right. So for range of movement, I mean, yeah, Hiya's already noted that they're updating this for the new release, but even still, by itself, not too shabby. The majority of content creators doing the review stuff in the Godzilla collector community and things are men. And as we all know, whether it's not how big a cup is or 6 inches, men are not very good at figuring out how big things are. So if I put this ruler here, right? If I put this ruler here, Doesn't matter the position of the sizing. Okay, if I put this right here, okay, this isn't going to do diddly squat because we could say, oh, he's 6 inches, he's 8. Okay, doesn't matter. It's not going to help. But let's just get these guys into a reasonable pose because this is a huge thing. I asked about it in my Discord, and folks were the main conclusion that I got was, hey, put these guys into a reasonable position. That's kind of where we have scale at, right? Okay, so Hiya Godzilla's got his legs tucked straight, just like that. Boom, boom. Good. He will be here. He will be looking straight. Normal monster versus Godzilla. He is looking straight. His legs together. Same. Boom. Boom. Evolved is smaller. There we go. Okay, let's do this instead. Okay, so as we can clearly see, all right, okay, normal Godzilla's clocking in just at 7. Evolved is just over 6. Okay, I'm glad we had that conversation. Now, here's the best part about it. If you don't have either of these, this is nothing. This is in a void. You don't know how big a Godzilla Evolved is. You don't know how big a Hiya Godzilla is. So, there is literal research that says this is a better size comparison for you. This is a better framework for you than a ruler. Okay? So that's how big he is. Okay? I'm not going to go through the whole rigmarole of pulling out different kaiju, different figures and different monsters. Since this is where my audience is going to land. Let's get him good. Okay? Foot down before somebody complains. There we go. All right. One more. Because I don't know if we're going to do the figure fight. At least now, anyway. Because it doesn't make much sense. Especially when you see the end of the video. There you go. There you go. All right. Hiya. So by now, skip or wait for a deal. Whatever. It's a fine figure. It's a product review. So in a vacuum, it's fine. There's not really much wrong. It's quite solid. Yes, the teeth paint aren't great. The dorsal plate paint's awful. Articulation's good. The eyes, mwah, Tamashii Nations, you should look at that as an example for what you should be able to do, but you, for some reason, cannot more than a decade later. I digress. Switching over to the reason for criticism and why I would say don't buy this if you have the chance. Before we get there, this is the last time I'm going to bring up this point and prime this point moving forward in my videos. And this is going to even retroactively apply to everything else, even though I've said this. Even going as so far back as to my Godzilla Kong New Empire video. The first one being criticism of a product does not entail criticism of a person. Just because somebody says they do not like something does not mean that they are wishing for you to be hauled off to the gulags, okay? And the other part of this is obviously you can make a purchase of whatever you would like. It doesn't matter what anyone has to say on the internet, including this large man sitting behind the camera. If for some reason you are not able to make these connections when you watch a video on the internet, it is an assumption that you are of the intended collector demographic for adult collectibles, keyword being adult, and you do have the reasoning ability to make an informed purchase, informed meaning a level of intelligence here, so this way you can sift through what you need to get a credit card, access the internet, and you have some ability to retain knowledge and act on that. Maybe to begin with, you shouldn't even get to this point. Maybe you need to dial it back and maybe assess a few other things that are going on. That's not facetious in any way. Thank you. So, Godzilla Evolved here. It's a slap in the face, and I don't think anybody should buy this. If you want to, that's cool. Again, fine figure. The thing is with this one, it is a slap in the face. Here's why. Let me set up the scenario for you. Nintendo goes on a press tour. They announce the Switch. Everybody likes the Switch. There are a few things that go wrong with the Switch because of what people say about it. But Nintendo counters those things, and they tell everyone that they're working on it to improve consumer likability and consumer experience. And even though there are some delays, Nintendo eventually not only gets the Switch out there for folks alike, with maybe some product demonstrations, let's pretend that those are going to be conventions, and then they're able to get some Switch units out to their influencers and some people in the press. Mind you, their agreements are they get to see any of the press releases ahead of time, and they do ultimately get to dictate what is said in the final release. But nevertheless, everybody gets a chance to see what the influencers and content creators have to say, and the people who are looking to buy this figure get really hyped up about it. They get super amped up. You have multiple hundreds, maybe even thousands of people having their orders shipped. They show up to the store, they go to pick it up, it's home, it's open, they're playing their games, they're enjoying it, everything is good. And then, less than a month later, they announced the Switch 2. Does everything the Switch does, everything down to the T, but it does it better. And Nintendo even says, yeah, the Switch, it didn't do everything exactly as we wanted, and even customers had noted for the original Switch, it could have been done better, so we're fixing that with the Switch 2. Sure, it'll be 6 months, $50 more, but Switch 2 is going to be better than the... Do you see the problem that's there? Do you see it? Does that connect? Because that's sort of what's going on here. Hiya delayed this. Hiya did the little press tour that companies do. It came out, everyone was hyped for it, didn't stick the landing like I said, but once folks opened it up, decreased the value because you can still get it new for MSRP, and boom. The heat ray is not always expected from Hiya because it basically replaces this. The default head only has some pink, purple, whatever you want to call it, glowing in the eyes just a little bit. The eyes look normal. They can pass as normal. He does come with an open mouth heat ray head, which you can use as the heat ray part, because that's meant for the beam. And it features different proportions and new engineering. So this, by default, is obsolete, and also implied to be obsolete, because when they updated the Skull Crawler mold for the GVK one, okay, when they did a reissue of the Skull Island one, they just repainted this one, and they even included the accessories, if I remember correctly. So any reissue of the original vanilla Godzilla Evolved undoubtedly will be of the updated one coming for the Heat Ray variant. So, sure, buy it now. If you like it, no problem there. No one said that there was a problem. As a matter of fact, there should never be a problem with anything you're comfortable with buying. Last time I'm going to touch on anything like that, again, I think. I'll just refer people back to here. The problem comes in with, sure, you can drop the $55 to $60 on this right now that you've waited more than a year to get, or chill for another 6 months, and you can get the better product for the same price. What's another 6 months when you've already waited this long? Or, I'll make a whole other video on this topic, if you've waited for US distribution, by the time that the heat ray comes out for import options, this one will probably be arriving at US docks. Isn't that swell? It's a great time to be a collector. You have legitimate problems, you have legitimate qualms, and Hiya says, yep, we'll go ahead and we'll fix those. By the way, we'll do it even better. I mean, hey, you do what you want, that's fine. Again, this is good. If you buy it and you're happy, great. I mean, again, it's good, but that's like 2-3 weeks worth of gas that could have gone in my tank. And I already bought the immediate outdated beta version. Cool.